For as long as I've been a gamer, one gaming franchise has eluded me. That franchise was Half-Life, and after playing it, I can confidently say it's one of the best games I've ever played. And just to be transparent, I'm playing Black Mesa, which is a very faithful remake of the original Half-Life game. There are differences in the level layout and design, but overall the game is virtually the same. And the main reason why I decided to play this edition is because of the visual enhancements and overhauls. Now, since I planned for this video to be on the longer side, for me at least, I'll be structuring this video based on the in-game chapters. I'll be discussing my thoughts on said chapter, as well as playing clips of my actual reactions to the different events. For each chapter, I'll be discussing what happened, what I like, what I don't like, things that stood out to me, and difficulty. If we hit 1,000 likes on today's video, I'll be posting some bunny pictures on my community tab, so make sure you're subscribed because as soon as I post those photos, you'll see them on your feed. In this video, I'll be going over the entire game, every single mission, every single chapter, cutting out things I don't think are necessary, but including things I do. So grab a snack, sit back, and relax. But without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1 begins by putting the player inside a train car. Yo, this is pretty cool. This mission is really simple and serves as exposition. However, unlike most modern games, you are shown what you need to know, not told. We eventually learn that the name of the character we play as is Gordon Freeman. Security. Benjamin Truman, is that my name?
You are made of stupid.
And from the on-screen pop-ups, we learn that we're in a place known as the Black Mesa Research Facility, located in New Mexico, home of the free. As Gordon stays on the train, he passes by multiple divisions of the facility and sees a lot of different employees. Giant machines walk by and you pass through multiple long corridors. The voice over the intercom asks if you know anyone who might like to work at the facility, and if you do, to please reference them. Oddly enough, the jobs mentioned sound extremely dangerous, foreshadowing the work that has and will get done at this facility. Chapter 1 ends with the train stopping and Gordon stepping off to be then greeted by security. Let's talk about what I like. The build-up is really well done as you're forced to sit and watch. The information on the intercom gives you enough info to interest you, but not enough information to completely understand. Gordon's character might be unfazed by some of the things he hears, but as the player we're taken back by what we hear, almost as if it's completely normal to the people inside the facility, but hard for an outsider to try and understand. Now let's do things I don't like. There's not that much, but due to my completely real and undiagnosed ADHD, I have a hard time sitting still. Of course, this isn't the game's fault, but I do feel like the train ride could have been a bit quicker. Helicopter? Yo, is that an Apache? Difficulty doesn't apply here, but the thing that stood out to me the most was the architecture. At first glance, it seems human, but something about the long tunnels, placements of objects, doors, and props creeps me out. Almost as if someone non-human looked at a lab and tried to replicate it. Honestly, something that kind of strikes me as odd is this place's geometry, like it's really weird. I'm not trying to imply any lore implications here, but it was just my initial reaction. Chapter 2 starts exactly where Chapter 1 ends, of course. Gordon greets the security guard and steps off the train. The security guard opens the front door, and as Gordon makes his way throughout the complex, anyone and everyone I came close to said hello. I had a ponytail? Aw, hell no. You ain't ever gonna catch me with a ponytail. Another guard at the main desk mentioned they had a security breach about 20 minutes ago. Concerning, but I guess it's just another day for these guys. I spent my time after this getting lost, and as you'll see, I'll get lost many times. Bro, where am I even going? I need to make my way towards this testing chamber, so as Gordon, I had to retrieve and equip the Hazardous Environmental Suit, or HEV for short. Once equipped, I made my way to this massive chamber with this huge machine, but before I got there, all along the way things started to go wrong. People seemed worried, and I kept hearing this term mentioned by a lot of the people down here. The term was resonance cascade, a term I will come to know very well. Yo. A panel blows off of a machine, and a couple of scientists ponder the consequences of what's to come. And unbeknownst to me, there will be consequences, many of them. I pressed this green button and wheeled this crystal looking thing into this giant laser, and all of a sudden, everything went haywire. Sparks went flying, electricity zapped everywhere, and explosions went off. Yo, 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 yo. What the hell's happening? No! Boys, what happened? All of a sudden, everything stopped, and this marked the end of chapter 2. It's still considered exposition, and difficulty yet again doesn't apply here. There wasn't anything I disliked necessarily about this chapter, but I really enjoyed escaping that prison cell that was the train. Equipping that HEV suit made me feel like a Spartan, and somehow it protected me from everything that went on in that chamber. Shit just hit the fan, and I wasn't prepared for it. I'll come to find out that lone wolf stuff, in fact, does not stay behind. As I opened my eyes, I noticed I wasn't in the testing chamber anymore. I was inside of this weird dreamscape looking dimension. Did I die? What the hell? What the... And these little dudes started to approach me, but right before they made contact, I woke up, back in the test chamber. Everything had calmed down, but what we had done was clear. Destroyed objects and rubble littered the area as I made my way back to the entrance. I passed by a scientist who was trying to perform CPR on a security guard. Unfortunately, he was too far gone. The music became somber, not just implying sadness from the unfortunate death, but foreshadowing the sadness I'll feel as a result of the situation. No, bro. I passed by the two scientists I had a chat with earlier. They explained all the phones were out, so no communication with the outside world, and multiple systems were failing. Essentially, we're stuck down here. I looked behind me, and in this tank stood this creature. It reminded me of a horseshoe crab. Oh, yo, it's like a little dude, man. Which I come to find out is actually known as a head crab. I continued down the path and met a man inside the control room who, let's just say, didn't make it. Alrighty, so a body burns in a fire, but it doesn't look human. As I made my way towards the elevator shaft, a group of people already inside the elevator fell all the way down, causing an explosion. I met back up with the security guard from the main desk. I didn't have any weapons, so I had to watch as this 30-year-old NPC handled an enemy better than a lot of modern day counterparts. I continued my way through the facility, scavenging flares I could find and try to use them against the zombies, hurling them across the room like I'm Tom Brady or something. We eventually made it back to the main desk. He tried staying there and trying to ask for help, trying to call anyone who might be available. I stumbled around for a bit longer until I found this vent I could crawl through, hopped down and obtained my first ever weapon, the crowbar. I then passed by this guy who was mid-goon sesh tweaking out to the baddies on his monitor, let's just say. He didn't even notice me. I then came upon a dying security guard who generously gifted me his pistol. Thank you, sir.
I need more bullets! I need more bullets! I need more bullets!
I opened the door and made my way into the next room where my game unfortunately crashed. I made my way through this tiny hole that opened up into an elevator, which of course crashed. However, unlike the people from before, I was saved by water at the bottom of the shaft. How the hell do I get out of here? I continued fighting a lot of these head crab zombie looking dudes until I stumbled upon an enemy known as the barnacle. He hangs his tongue down from the ceiling and will grab anything that comes into contact with it. As I continued walking, I noticed a weird looking businessman who walked into this room, but when I got up there, he disappeared. Yo, business dude, come back here. I need your help, bruh. Yo, bro, where you going, dog? It confused me at the time, but don't worry, we'll be seeing him soon enough. With the help of a fellow scientist, I made my way into an armory where I got some grenades and some more ammunition for my pistol. Oh ho ho, look at that, baby. I dropped down into some sewers before eventually finding a lift where I got ambushed by some head crabs. I then came across this big lizard dude that spits acid known as bull squids. And keep in mind, during my gameplay, I didn't look anything up, so I gave these dudes a bunch of random names. I did some parkour on the top of these floating crates, which led me to this area with a whole new enemy type. Like we didn't already have enough, am I right? These little fat things that rush at you and shoot this sonic boom thing. They also have this giant hole for a mouth, and if they weren't so deadly, I wouldn't mind keeping one as a pet. But the chapter ended when I made my way into this working elevator and descended. So what did I think of this chapter? I enjoyed it a lot. The game finally started to pick up, and difficulty is something I can actually talk about now. Since it's the beginning of the game, the puzzles are pretty easy and the enemy encounters are too. It's understandable as the developers probably didn't want to overwhelm the player. You finally get access to weapons, which is great, in the form of the crowbar and the pistol, as well as flares if you want to count those. I love the interactions with the NPCs. Something that stood out to me was the different pathways you could take and the different interactions that would happen as a result of those pathways. The game is on a roll here, as there's nothing I really disliked about this chapter besides the fact that they could have made that vent part a little bit more obvious, but not a major complaint. Let's move on to the next chapter. Coming out of the elevator, I saw this poor dude getting dragged up into the ceiling. Yo, wait, what? As I looked to the left, I noticed a wall of electricity blocking my path, and I watched as a few headcrabs so graciously ended their lives for me. An ever so convenient hole blasted out of the side of the wall, which gave me access to a nearby vent system. There will be a lot of vents all throughout this game, and I mean a lot. While exploring the vents, I found this room with some nice loot, and then stumbled upon a room with a couple of scientists. One of them gets grabbed by a barnacle, and I tried my best to save little bro, but the game said nah, and instant transmission him out of there. Yo, there's some friendlies. I thought I saved him. What? I shot it just in time. I then turned off the power, allowing me to cross that wall of electricity I found earlier. I followed the long office hallways until I came across another security guard inside of an armory. One of those zombie dudes tried to kill him, but little dude didn't have to worry, Gordon's on the case. I found a shotgun inside the armory, and let's just say this damn thing is extremely powerful. No freaking way. Holy. I'm gonna be slinging slugs with this one. Oh my god, okay, we can't waste it on these freaking little buggers though. Me and the security guard, who I promptly started calling Lil Dude, made our way throughout the complex as I continued solving puzzles and clearing out hostiles. We found another security guard nearby who joined our little fire team. To be honest, I didn't really care about this guy. I called him Baldy because, you know, he's bald. If it comes down to it, I'm saving Little Dude. I'm not saving you. I'm sorry, man. While making our way upward, we ran into a turret, and in the commotion, we unfortunately lost Baldy. Perhaps I underestimated him because he took a bullet from me and Baldy. Baldy, you're a true hero. Baldy took a bullet for you, man. You may not have been my favorite. You saved Little Dude. Me and the little dude who ran into earlier came across another security guard, which I creatively named Baldy 2. He tells us to get topside and mentions the military is coming to save us. Wait, troops? Bro, I guess that the military is coming. A sigh of relief for what has been hours of horrible fighting. Now that the military is coming, these little alien dudes won't stand a chance. Little did I know, the military wouldn't be that helpful. I then made my way into a giant freezer where I had to solve another puzzle and got lost again. Sadly enough, this is where I had to part ways with Little Dude. Hopefully I'll see you again, buddy. I continued through a vent system I found inside the freezer and found some more NPCs I could chat with. With these new dudes, we fought off a couple of enemies before I scaled up an elevator shaft in the hope that I could make it to the surface. Inside, a scientist accidentally falls to his death, which I had clearly nothing to do with. An elevator came down and I broke a tile in the roof to get inside, concluding this level. Alright, so this level ramped it up with the puzzles. It's something I liked because they kept them simple. You still had a lot of exploring to do. The freezer section really stood out to me because the environment looked a lot different. Something I wish I could have done was bring the NPCs throughout most of the story, maybe even complete it with them. As long as they didn't die, of course. I understand that there were coding limitations at the time which probably restricted something like this, but it would have been a really nice touch. Difficulty ramped up with all the new enemy types that started coming back, but with the shotgun I was able to make quick work of them. This level felt more like filler to me, but I could see it was more important as a sort of transition to make our way into the military and them as a new faction, and the levels will eventually showcase that, but let's move on. I made my way out of the elevator and immediately noticed a scientist running across my screen. I started banging on some glass where a security guard was holding off some of those zombie guys. As I continued past the scientist who somehow blew up into chunks while I wasn't looking, I then stumbled upon some laser traps which trigger turrets. What the hell? I cleared out the room ahead, destroying a turret and eliminating some zombie guys. A green light flashes and those skinny guys from earlier in that dreamscape world spawned in. These dudes are actually called Vortigons. I don't know really how you say it. Vortigaunt, Vortigant, Vortigaunt.
Vortigaunt.
Pro tip, double pump these dudes right in the head to dispatch them. It works every time. I ended up passing by a lot more turrets and a lot more head grabs before I finally made my way into a room where I actually missed the mysterious man.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce.
A speaker on a nearby wall notified me that the base is now under military control. It finally set in. They weren't here to save us and to actually dispose of us instead. I thought you guys were supposed to be saving us. What is this? Why are you taking control of all our along with all our years of research we gathered? I gave a dude 5 big booms. You're gonna get 5 big booms.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear about your brother that passed away. He gets 5 big booms. Boom! 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 Boom!
This is probably my favorite gun because of the reload, and the sound effects are super crisp in this version of the game. The ammo it uses is also very abundant because it's the same as the pistol, so it's my go-to weapon. I navigated through the facility some more, killing military personnel and head crabs. I prefer to pull out my pistol and dump 2 shots into the head crabs. It'll save you a lot of ammo, and I found myself later in this giant room full of military guys, but I ain't no chump, and so is Gordon, so we toss these dudes around like paper clips. Where you at? Where you at? Bond! 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 I finally, after 60 damn years, found a lift that let me gain access to the surface. And let me just mention, the music is absolutely fire. It wasn't gonna be easy though, as the surface was full of military dudes and even an osprey flew overhead. Having no choice, I was forced to re-enter the facility through a ladder in a small room. A rocket smashed into some infrastructure above me and sent debris falling down in front of me. More military dudes dropped in, but come on now, at this point you should understand it's not gonna kill my goat, Freeman. Continuing deeper into the facility, I overheard some guards making fun of my fellow scientists, so I did what any normal man would do. I then entered a security room with a scientist who confirmed, though we had already found out, the military ain't our allies. He gives me a new quest, meet up with the Lambda team to try and figure out a solution to this entire situation. That marks the end of this chapter. I once again really enjoyed this level. While it had a small amount of puzzles, it focused more on combat, which I really enjoyed, so that's a plus. The betrayal by the military is a nice little addition to the story, as it breaks the cliche of only 2 factions, aliens and humans, as now there are multiple different factions all fighting for what they think is right. The surface portion really stood out to me. Although it's short, it left a long-lasting impact on me. That's all for this level. Let's continue. The scientist closed the giant blast door behind me, and I noticed an acid spitter on the floor beneath me. I went down this elevator and found a tram that I could fully operate. This section was super fun because I basically got to zip around these long tunnels while I played a mini Mario Kart. Some enemies spawned near me, but as I zoomed past them on the tram, I shot at them a few times. All of a sudden, the tram crashed in some debris and it almost threw me into this giant pool of acid. Oh shoot! I climbed onto some nearby pipes and made my way across the gap just to find myself in a bigger room with an even bigger pool of acid. So they like live in radiation or something? How are they able to just swim in the water? I went up an elevator and got ambushed by a bunch of these little round dudes. What the hell? What in the hell? A giant cylinder chamber lied before me, and with no other options, I made my way inside. I had to activate different parts of this chamber that would fire a thruster, because inside the chamber were these 3 huge green tentacle things. No, 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 no. Move out the way, bro. No, 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 no. Let him go! And I had to make my way through the chamber, making sure to make as little noise as possible. I ran through the room, dodging them the best I could, before I made my way into one of those doors. I crossed the bridge, went down an elevator until I found a scientist who told me what I needed to activate. I guess I'm heading down this way. I pressed a few buttons and the area I was in lit up green, so I knew I was all good. I made my way back to the giant cylinder area and found another door I needed to get into. I activated this giant fan, which shot me up high into the air. I made my way back into the main control room and activated the thruster, which burned that damn tentacle to a crisp. I then descended down into the pit that the tentacle came out of and found a high-powered revolver, another one of my personal favorites.
Oh, damn.
If you're really good with headshots, you'll love this weapon. I swam through a bit of water and found yet another huge pool of acid. I did some parkour and found a crank that could move a pipe into place so that I could get across the gap.
Shoddy.
I hopped into the pipe and started sprinting, and before I knew what was happening, a section of the pipe I was in collapsed and led me into this new area, marking the end of this chapter.
Shit, my section of pipe fell.
This level was interesting. The bright green acid stood out to me because of the contrast, and the cool tentacle boss was pretty interesting. Something that bothered me was the AI of the tentacle boss thing. It sometimes seemed like it would react to my noise, and then sometimes it seems like it wouldn't. It sort of was a little bit inconsistent at times. Actually being able to control and defend the tram was a super awesome idea, and we'll see more of that. The transition leading into the next chapter as the pipe fell down was pretty interesting, and it was pretty slick.
Doctor, you're not slick.
Speaking of the next chapter, stumbling out of the pipe, I decided to place some mines in a hallway as I thought enemies might be following me. This in no way will come back to bite me in the ass.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
A huge rancor-looking alien known as a gargantua busted through a wall and slaughtered a bunch of soldiers. I freaked out and had this bright idea to run back down the hallway where I placed the mines. A true 200 IQ play.
Oh my god, I'm so dumb.
I ran past him, killed a couple alien slaves, found a wounded security guard, and he told me that the only way to kill this thing is to turn on a nearby electrical grid, so that's what I did. More military dudes crossed paths with me, but they didn't end up making it. I activated some switches, got extremely lost, and made my way back to the wounded security guard near the gargantua. For some reason, and I swear I can't remember why, I tried killing the poor guy. I'm so sorry, dude. Genuinely, I am. I'm not.
Well, that didn't work. I guess bro's just...
I jumped back out into the room where the gargantua was patrolling around and slipped into the electrical area where I flipped a couple switches, pressed a button, and poof, no more gargantua. I located a nearby tram and came across a blocker on the track, so I decided to stop the tram. I met another security guard who mentioned that the military stopped a rocket launch that would have sent a satellite into space. This satellite is important because the Lambda team of scientists could use it to stop this whole mess. So with that new objective in mind, the security guard lets us through, which concludes this chapter. This chapter, although extremely short, was really cool. Instead of just beating a boss with bullets and, you know, shooting them like they're a bullet sponge, the devs crafted a way to use the environment similarly in the way that we killed the tentacle guy. The area where you have to activate some machines to get the electrical grid to work is a pain to navigate. I got lost so many times and went in circles a bunch. Black Mesa's redesign of the gargantua looks amazing, and of course he's the highlight of this chapter. I guess it's good I like this guy so much because, once again, we'll see more of this later. With that being said, let's jump into the next chapter. Ascending deeper into the complex, my ears were once again blessed with an amazing soundtrack. Once I reached the bottom, it was full of water. I operated the tram some more before I came to a pit where the track was lifted up into the air.
And although I didn't understand a lot of games when I was a kid, I still enjoyed people who made content, you know?
I connected some pipes, flicked some switches, and I was all good to go. I ascended upwards and came face to face with a whole bunch of turrets. I crossed paths with some military personnel and some aliens before I found myself in a large room where I opened the door for the tram to get through.
Okay, let's hope it just rams through these objects.
And used my tram to plow through the trash that's in front of me. The tram entered another cylinder, but this time I started going upwards. Once I reached the top, I realized I made it to that rocket that was equipped with the satellite that the scientists wanted me to launch.
I have been lost for most of this game.
I went down on the platforms near the rocket, opening the flaps on each level. Once I was done with that, I made my way back up and raised the rocket into position. I got on the tram, which went for a bit longer and eventually brought me face to face with a bunch more military guys, who blew up my tram.
Oh shoot.
I finally made my way up onto the surface and overheard two dudes talking shit about Freeman.
That's crazy.
The night above me was dark, and I really only had the facility's lights and the moon to light my path. I walked around, finishing off a bunch of military guides, and eventually found the control room. After all this hard work, we actually got something done when I fired that rocket. I re-entered the facility with the goal of finding the team of scientists that operate the Lambda. Found an upgraded tram, and that ended the chapter.
Yo, upgraded tram system.
I enjoyed this level because it switched from you exploring on foot and became something in between. You still had those on foot exploring areas, but you always came back to some sort of tram, whether that was for lowering a platform or clearing out the way. Launching the rocket really stood out to me because I felt like I had finally done something plot-wise. I loved playing on the surface, so that part of the level was my favorite. This level was bland for the most part, as it had you just waiting on the tram until something happened. You would go for a little bit, stop, do something, go for a little bit, stop, do something. I mean, it's interesting from a gameplay perspective, but at the same time, it can get kind of boring if you're just rinsing and repeating that for a very long time. But speaking of trams, I just got an upgraded one. Let's jump to the next chapter. Just as soon as I found the tram, I lost it because it freaked out and crashed through a wall. I fell into a giant pit with water at the bottom that thankfully broke my fall. Oh shoot! I then had to gather these barrels to put under this platform in order to raise this walkway so I could get across the gap.
Yo, that's cool. What the hell?
I swam through a lot more water and finally made my way into a different part of the complex that had these pipes spewing fire everywhere. I then came face to face with this giant water creature that gobbled up this scientist dude.
Oh shit. What the hell is that? What the hell?
Probably the biggest piece of nightmare fuel I've seen from this game. I met a scientist who told me to lower a cage into the water in order to kill it. Probably the most insane plan ever. I love it. As I jumped into the shark cage, I picked up another weapon, the crossbow. It acts like a sniper. It has a high magnification scope and outputs super high damage, but with a low fire rate.
Is it like a freaking shark cage? No way I'm gonna be in a shark cage.
I got lost once again, but eventually found where I needed to go. I made it into a room where there was an acid spitter that was spewing crap at me, and I noticed a businessman on the upper platform. I pressed a button which enabled me to do some parkour and get across the platforms. I found a scientist held up inside a tiny room who opened the door only once I killed everything. He explained to me that the scientists have been tracking my position, but then explained that the military has been doing the exact same thing. My suit is full of tracking devices, and that's how they've been able to follow me and know my rough position. He opened the door and I had to run through this frozen area quickly before my life support ran out. I ran through some more hallways, killed some more alien dudes, found a lift, and the lift brought me to this area that was full of military supplies.
What the heck are these guys?
But that wasn't the only thing lurking around, as a new enemy type, the assassin, jumped out in front of me. These dudes, or gals I should say, are agile as hell. They wield 2 pistols and do a crazy amount of acrobatics. I cleared out the entire area, but as I made my way into one of the back rooms, I was caught off guard. I was hit in the back of the head by a couple of military soldiers who were able to ambush me. They threw me in this giant trash compactor, which I could only describe as the scene from Star Wars. I jumped around and realized they took all my weapons. I would have to scavenge everything again. I made my way back out onto the surface, where I opened up a hatch and crawled into some tunnels. Concluding this chapter. This chapter was good in terms of action and storytellings, my 2 favorite things of course. The shark cage scene was really cool and it really stood out to me, and getting knocked out was a nice little touch in terms of the narrative. It was a good excuse to get rid of the player's weapons and make us feel like we're once again at the bottom. However, they do the cliche of, we're going to kill you by tossing you down into a said pit, but we're not going to actually watch you die like some James Bond villain. I'll give them a pass because of the time period, and it's a bit more subtle than other media. The assassins were a really interesting addition, but we don't really get to see too many of them. Just like the assassin, let's jump straight into the next chapter. I came out of the pipe like Mario just to see a security guard who is about to get swallowed up by some head crabs. I then lost track of him, and for some reason I started talking about King Von.
I got the Glock back. Alright, I pray to thee, Prime King Von. Embody your soul, heart, and spirit inside of me.
What am I doing? What is this script?
I climbed through a vent and entered another room full of acid. Found another room with even more acid and parkour. Noticed a dude getting munched on, that's always nice. I then proceeded to climb into what I can only call the trash system from Toy Story. Goated movie, by the way.
Ew, why did that sound like that?
I dove straight into the piss and doo-doo filled water. I'm sure Gordon enjoyed the taste of that.
Oh shoot, where am I going? Oh no, not in there, not in there, not in there.
I maneuvered around some of the machinery and popped back out of the sludge. I stumbled into a mini control room that had a couple of acid spitters. I figured out the puzzle and jumped onto a conveyor belt. I then entered a room with smashing machinery and died a lot more times than expected in an almost 30-year-old game.
Do not underestimate the smashers. That was my downfall.
Don't ever underestimate Half-Life. I then came across the most frustrating part of this game, and it's this damn conveyor slash room area. It's so confusing that I got lost so many freaking times. If you die at certain parts, you have to run back through the entire zone. By far the most annoying part of this game. I made my escape and that ended this chapter. This chapter was actually pretty short, but my dumbass made it over 20 minutes to complete. On top of that, the conveyor room is extremely unclear on where to go. I got lost and I had to repeat shit like I said. I'm giving my first rating here a 2 out of 10. The only reason why I gave it some points is because of the whole sludge part, which was pretty neat and creative. Dodging stuff while in moving water was a nice addition. Honestly, skip this level if you ever play the game. I don't think there was any important details, so you'd be good to skip it. Let's move on. You start the mission by climbing up a ladder to escape the room you were just in.
Like, what is this?
I looked around to see a few of those fat sleeping lizard guys, and I noticed a giant electrical fence, and realized all I had to do was shoot a piece of wood through the fence. A truly genius idea. This is where we figure out the true extent of the test. For the most part, the scientists were testing weaponry, and even had a prisoner locked up inside a cage.
What in the ever-living...
I had to activate multiple different parts of this laser, which when activated blew a hole through the wall, allowing me to escape. Oh, I also forgot to mention, I obtained a new high-tech weapon that shoots small bursts of energy, and it's really good for spamming. I continued until I found a small group of scientists. I turned off a death machine that was throwing around some blades everywhere so the scientists could escape. They led me to a giant door that seemed almost too easy to get into, and even one of the scientists pointed that out. Of course it was too easy because a huge group of military personnel flooded into the building. What the... Not enough to kill me though, as I completely eradicated each and every one of them. After clearing the area, the scientists entered the room and told me about the Lambda team and core. They mentioned how important it was for me to get there, so that's my main priority. No sidetracks now. One scientist exited the building with me to assist me. However, bro didn't end up making it that far.
Okay, well, that's as far as that plan goes.
I had to clear the surrounding area before I could start exploring, but once I did, I found a long hallway with a guy on a mounted machine gun. I grabbed a bunch of ammo and entered a room with the door shut behind me, ending this chapter. This chapter does show you a taste of the weapon development inside of Black Mesa, but we'll end up seeing things get so much worse. Valve loves their environmental storytelling, and that's on full display here. All you gotta do is look around. The puzzles are interesting and the weapons you get are really cool, but let's continue. This chapter is long, so strap yourself in. The door opened and I immediately had to deal with a couple of military guys.
Holy shit.
I followed the road, killing guys along the way until I came to a fence and had to jump over a car.
What am I supposed to do? Jump on top of this?
A damn Apache helicopter flew in and I had to use my high-tech gun as well as a mounted machine gun I found nearby to dispatch of that helicopter. Eventually I damaged it enough and it flew away. I tried crossing another bridge, but it ended up collapsing, and I fell into some water full of those swimming aliens.
Oh shit.
I climbed up a tower and flipped a switch. As I jumped back into the water, the pipes at the bottom sucked me in and spat me out in a completely different area.
This is an insane view.
I followed the river for a bit until I made my way back into the facility. It's a really nice looking river, might I add. After fumbling around like an idiot, I got on top of a ledge that I finally needed to be on, and took out some more aliens. buildings. I got ambushed by some more military guys and pushed a button to open up a storm drain hatch, allowing me to pass through. On the other side laid a massive minefield. I figured if I used my pistol, I could trigger the mines, allowing me to pass. That strategy worked out perfectly, and I made my way through a few tunnels before finding out I had to scale on the side of a mountain.
No way I have to scale this cliff.
For this next part, I died so many times because I was on low health. Pro tip, if you get to this part of the game, please have high health. Your future self will really appreciate it. I continued hugging the cliff and clearing out military guys as I passed by them.
Look at this dude.
Eventually finding myself on top of some more infrastructure. I climbed down the tower, killing some more guys of course, and came across this huge weapon stash. I got access to another really cool weapon. You know it, you've seen it before, the good old rocket launcher.
Oh my god.
I'm him. A conveniently timed Apache approached my position. As I yelled Minecraft quotes, I shot rockets at it.
Chicken jockey.
Chicken jockey.
Steve's lava chicken, yeah, it's tasty as hell.
I had just watched the Minecraft movie at the time, so it was obviously still on my mind. After I destroyed the helicopter, I climbed up the cliff somewhere and found some pipes on the ground I could climb around on.
Ringing the bell.
I made my way into another part of the complex and started shooting at some more idiots. Came across a tank that I had to destroy, and wouldn't you have guessed it, more military dudes. I went into a tunnel and had finally re-entered the complex. I was now back on the inside. A massive door opened into a courtyard where I got the chance to kill more alien slaves. A scientist came out of a room and immediately got shot by a 10-year-old from 2016. You could see snipers on the rooftops with these huge, super long and obvious lasers. I avoided some mines, made my way back on top of the nearby buildings, and dropped inside through the roof. A scientist sat depressed on the inside of the room and told me about the explosive infested area up ahead. I had to act just like a spy, dodging lasers and taking out assassins before I came across a dead alien soldier and took his gun. I had to shove my hand inside of it in order to use it. That shit was nasty.
Oh my god.
I blew myself up in this room so many times I couldn't even tell you how many. I lowered the lift I was standing on and saved a security guard from being killed. He decided to tag along and we explored some of the tunnels we found ourselves in.
Alright, I'll bring this little guy with me. We got another little buddy.
We found an opening and a giant alien stingray looking thing darted across the sky as two jets followed in pursuit.
What the hell?
After clearing out some more guys, we made it into a giant weapon stash that the guard had told me about. Another security guy jumped out from behind the desk, scaring the absolute shit out of me. I took as much guns, ammunitions, and everything I could possibly think of, fearing what was about to happen. As I left the area, I parkoured through some broken buildings until I found my way to this alien guy who was inspecting a dead military soldier. Aliens, tanks, military dudes, ospreys, everything funneled into this area.
Holy bejesus.
Thankfully, a door opened and allowed me to escape into a tunnel where I was assaulted by alien slaves. Past those guys were some more of those alien types fighting these military dudes. I made quick work of them and traveled up the building where I saw a hole in the wall and jumped out. I climbed up a ladder and found this inside area that was completely covered in this alien orange biomass. True horror. As I crawled through the vents, some military dudes shot me out and I fell into a room full of them. I ran into yet another open area filled with even more military and alien dudes alike.
Do you see the trend here?
I witnessed an osprey explode and cleared out the remaining enemies. I found another tank which got destroyed by one of those alien ships with the giant beam of light, cleared out the streets, and made my way onto the roof, where I once again jumped into a pool of water and crawled into some more pipes. A dude exploded something in a tunnel which definitely didn't kill me, but definitely killed him.
He killed himself, man.
I found another building which had a security guard who had the Lambda codes I needed. This was perfect. We cleared out the streets, but unfortunately he didn't make it. A door closed and he got ripped apart by this alien dude.
No, 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 no. Open this door now.
Just then, one of those giant walking guys started chasing me and I ran through the building until I was forced into this courtyard. I discovered a mortar tablet that blew up this idiot into 1,000 pieces.
Yo, I got him. Let's freaking go.
I shot down a tower, allowing me to cross, and then opened up some blast doors. I walked for a little bit, found the security guard, and that ended up ending the chapter. This is the longest chapter by far. I tried to make it as quick as possible. I'm sorry this might end up being really long, but holy cow, most of it could have been cut. I understand if you want to show some of the new things, but certain parts of this mission became so repetitive, I was begging for something new. There's a lot of creative puzzles, traps, and enemies, but the environment feels the same and nothing really stood out to me except for the helicopter fights. And I guess the boss fight at the end. Not the best, but not the worst level, maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10 in my opinion. The next level, or chapter I should say, is promptly named Forget About Freeman and has some pretty interesting plot developments, so let's talk about it.
They're pulling out.
I walked into a room and listened to a radio that the guard had turned on. Apparently the military is pulling out, but they're forgetting about me.
Okay, so we're trapped here for the 16th time.
After all this time together, I was kind of sad. Not really though, because at this point in the game I had killed hundreds of these dudes and it was kind of getting boring. I noticed that there was a button in the room that turned on some turrets, so I tried baiting the enemies outside, but they discovered out how to destroy the turrets, so I finished them off myself.
Get inside, no!
More biomass covered the walls, and it's almost symbolic how the worlds are colliding, both physically in terms of speech. Yes, aliens are invading, but are we so different from them?
I really like this pistol.
I opened a hatch and jumped down into a room full of head crabs and turrets. I then navigated through some pipes and swam through some more water before I stumbled upon a ladder that led to the surface.
I've been loving the Terminator movies.
A huge alien stingray ship lasered the ground in front of me, and dudes started popping out everywhere.
What in the...
I blew up a tank and made it inside to see a soldier getting swarmed by a bunch of these little bugs. They're much smaller than head crabs.
They're like, the little buggies are like eating him.
I jumped over an acid pool and narrowly avoided an exploding barrel and a grenade some dude tried to chuck at me. I then came to this massive garage where I blew up a tank and finished off some more soldiers. Continuing down the facility, I finally ran into a sign that said Lambda, ending this chapter. This chapter was short and sweet. There were some small story beats and a whole lot of action. Very little puzzles, but that'll change with this next one. My favorite part was the all-out battles in the big courtyard areas. Seeing the different factions fight is always super cool, and as Freeman, you're able to navigate and pick which fights you want to engage or might not want to engage. The music was fire, but more importantly, we made it to where we actually wanted to be, the Lambda Core. Speaking of the Lambda Core, this chapter begins by setting the player on a giant descending lift.
Oh, Lambda Core. Okay. This is the place I need to get, right?
Once I reached the bottom, I cleared out all the aliens down there and entered a room full of assassins.
Where are you going? You get 5 big booms.
After defeating them, I made my way into a place labeled Lambda Complex. So apparently I was not fully in it yet, but who knows. Just then a huge group of enemies spawned. After killing them, I thought I was lost for a second, but then a scientist let down a ladder for me. What a kind and gentle soul.
Oh, yo, he put down the ladder. Nice, bro.
I continued through the hallways where a scientist gave me access to the best weapon in the game, the gluon gun. It shoots this giant laser that turns anything it hits into atoms. I descended into the facility some more and was told to activate 2 pumps and 2 tanks.
I'm liking this new toy.
I needed to do this in order to get the core up and running, so that's what I did. Any enemies along the way got completely eradicated by my new gluon gun. I then went to the core and started that up, but it started shooting lasers at me, so that wasn't too fun.
Oh shit.
And then I went to a different part of the core and had to do this interesting parkour part utilizing portals. Freeman can jump into these different heights at an instant, being from low to high, high to low, and by going through these different portals you can solve this puzzle. After all of this activation, I finally found the main Lambda team of scientists. This is it, beginning of the end. A very, very, very long end. Speaking of these scientists, I learned that the reason why the aliens keep pouring into our world is because of a single entity that keeps that gateway open. By killing that entity, we can destroy the connection between our 2 worlds. A nice lady gave me a jump pack that had 3 charges, allowing me to be one of the best and coolest things in all of gaming, the pilot from Titanfall. Now, in order to transport me to the other world known as Zen, they have to do this super long process that cannot be interrupted. So as they started the sequence, the room filled with enemies, and at the perfect time they yelled at me to jump in, so that's what I did, ending this chapter. Not only was this chapter heavy on the lore and action, but it finally clued you in on the extent of what these people have been doing. Sending and bringing things back from the other world known as Zen, something was bound to go wrong, and it certainly did. The teleportation minigame really stood out to me, and defending the portal was really energetic, but let's continue.
I woke on top of a teleportation platform and looked up to see an amazing view. I was in some sort of cave, and the whole area had this purple hue. I want to really stress the reason it looks this good is because I'm playing the fan-made remake called Black Mesa. Yo, why didn't the rest of the game look like this, bro? This looks amazing. Please check them out if you have the time. I even saw that alien flying thing from earlier dart across the sky. Music, which I can only describe as angelic, played as I walked around and tried to find my footing. Making sure to avoid these floating booger looking guys, I then got a chance to practice my jetpacking skills by leaping across the floating rocks. Yeah, so the science team has been in this dimension for some time. I thought what happened was just a freak accident. And man, I can't express how good this game looks. I lowered a nearby rock with a lever and did some more jetpack jumps, before finding a teleporter that transported me across the big gap. There were these Tesla things on the wall that would zap you when you get close, and when I got into a nearby cave, there were some of those swimming alien dudes, the ichthyosaurs. I found a human-made laboratory and connected an electrical cord to open the door. Inside was completely destroyed and all the scientists were either dead or infected with head crabs. Oh shoot, an infected guy in a suit? I found an orange crystal that was stuck inside some alien contraption that when connected properly provides energy, a lot of energy in fact. Okay, so I can open this now. I solved a few more puzzles but finally got out of the building and was able to heal myself in these blue pools. Outside was yet another puzzle where I had to place an orange crystal into the contraption and connect the cord. Once done, I was able to jump across some scaffolding and access another door, but this time it led to the other side of the wall instead of a new laboratory. A giant finger looking thing that just sat above the ground snatched one of the aliens and ended up killing it. Its own place even hates itself. This ecosystem is a lot like Earth, predator, prey, instead of just a hive mind. I jumped across some alien plants and onto some giant roots. Following some lights on the ground led me to this big lake/river area with some lily pads I could jump on. As I made my way through the tunnels, I figured out that shooting the beating hearts opened up new areas. Okay, well, I just shot it and it worked. I kept on following the path in front of me and came across these tiny explosive guys that spawn in big swarms. I then made it to an area where I needed to shoot multiple of those hearts in order to open up this giant cave. I continued my way through the opening until I found myself in a bright green area with acid spitters. After parkouring around for a little bit and walking some more, I came to this narrow passage that was full of mines and explosive flora littered about. Okay, let's get it. Aw, bruh. After that, I found another area where I had to shoot hearts, but this time I had to spend a little extra effort in order to reach them. Long story short, you make your way through a huge variety of this ecosystem, continuing to solve puzzles and do parkour, until you find this huge alien laboratory, and by powering up 3 different lasers, you can create a mysterious red portal, and when jumped through brings you to the next chapter. I cut out a huge amount of time, and again, play it for yourself to really get that feeling of length and real time, but for the sake of this video, I'm trying to breeze through it as quick as possible while giving you that sufficient information. So what's my overall opinion of this chapter? Well, it's super long. I cut out probably 75% in this script, but overall it's a great experience carried by some of the environments and visuals. There's a bunch of new enemy types and old ones are reused in different ways. Puzzles are more straightforward and the environmental storytelling is at an all-time high. A true 10 out of 10 level in my opinion. This next chapter is really gimmicky, so I'm gonna give you the rundown fairly quickly. You basically fight this thing known as the Gonarch, not so sure if I'm saying it correctly, who chases you around for like 30 minutes. The game fools you with a boss fight in the beginning, which leads to a really long goose chase. And again, I'm summarizing this 30-minute level into one paragraph. But eventually you end up killing it, leading you into a cave that goes into a more important level. It's going to this side. Okay, it's shooting. Gotta wait till it peeks its head. You can really only get a full experience from playing this level for yourself, so again, I'm not going to go over every little aspect, but it's really cool being chased by this guy and having to figure out as you go along. What do I think of this chapter, right? Well, you probably assume I hated it, but I actually liked it. The only thing I disliked was the time I had to spend. It went on for a little bit too long. Keep a few major points and cut out some of that filler. It would be a lot better. But let's jump into Interloper, the next chapter. For the next 3 chapters, I'll be cutting out my analysis in order to make it more free-flowing, but I'll come back at the end to summarize these, so don't worry. As soon as I exited the Gonarch's lair, I was faced with a massive red tower in the distance. That must be where this supposed entity is, so that's where I'll be going. I did some parkour and made it to an alien courtyard where those big dudes and also the smaller alien slaves were held up. However, the smaller ones that have been attacking us looked different. They weren't glowing or menacing. I guess that's why they're called alien slaves.
Wait, so all of those little green dudes good now?
There's some lore here that you're not told directly, but you can infer on.
Bro, I have no idea what's going on.
And somehow they're being forced to attack us, humanity. I got lost and might have killed a couple of these dudes that may or may not be so innocent. I'm not too sure though.
Alright, well, now I have blood on my hand. So, this feels right.
I eventually made it to a Vortigaunt village, which are the enslaved dudes again, and it really set in that these guys are just normal dudes. Normal dudes. Normal dudes. Normal dudes. Normal dudes. Normal dudes. While navigating the village, it got raided by these mind-controlling flying guys known as alien controllers.
I gotta kill these things then.
Which turned the Vortigants into alien slaves that attacked me just like before. After successfully defending the village, I crawled around until I came across a river that led me out of there. While following the river, a gargantua busted out of some vines and started chasing me. I booked it so damn hard you couldn't tell the difference between me and Sonic.
Go, 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 go.
As I started to run, they started coming in from everywhere. More bursted through the walls, some started chasing me. It was intense, but I finally got out by crawling through a waxy looking cave. Once out of the cave, I made my way into this big Vortigant facility. I conversed with some of the locals and redid a bunch of their wiring in order to get me to that big place that I had seen before.
Gallinger, same to you, buddy.
Once I was finished, some of those mind controllers spawned in, but I was able to protect these dudes for the most part.
I didn't mean to kill your friends, bro.
I explored some back areas and solved a few puzzles before I made my way into an even bigger facility. This place was full of puzzles. I had to shoot pipes so I could jump on these moving cylindrical platforms. I left that area, then ran into an area where I had to do the exact same thing. Once out of there, I stepped into another river in an underground cave and opened into another bit of alien infrastructure. I had to push by a couple of big alien soldiers in order to make my way inside.
Yeah, that guy went down.
Where I found these green alien crystals that gave my glue-on gun some infinite charge.
Oh, I can use this infinitely. It's being powered by these crystals.
I defended the area, crawled up the side of some buildings, went through some vents, and made it to another cave. For this next part, I'm gonna speed through it a little because it's mostly the same, and what you do is very similar. As you exit the cave, you enter this giant factory room full of conveyors, lasers, and more machinery.
You know how tempting it is to shotgun this guy?
You have to complete mini games to stay alive, and eventually I found myself on a lift ascending towards what I could only assume was the entity I've been waiting for, the Nihilanth. I jumped into a portal that brought me to another portal, but this one looked more menacing. It was this deep red color surrounded by rubble, and with nowhere else to go, I leaped forward. I fell from the sky and looked up to see this giant floating baby, the Nihilanth.
What this ain't home, bruh. This ain't home, bruh. How the hell do I kill this thing? Oh shit, oh shit.
He summoned airstrikes, formed a shield around himself that I had to slowly wither away at. By taking out 3 generators on the ceiling, I was able to start damaging his shield. He threw meteors, fireballs, even cars at me. Everything under the sun was fair game to this dude.
Oh, I can break him. I think I can break these things, come on. Oh, I can break him.
I don't have any heavy weaponry left. Oh shit, wait, how do, oh, restock. Nice, let's go. Alright, one more. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Nice. Can I laser his ass? I can. What the hell? He's summoning Humvees? After I damaged him enough, he started raising the ground of the area, trying to throw me off. That shit did not affect my goat Freeman though. Oh my god, he's doing so much damage to me. Ah, shit. Come on, dog. Don't give up now, Freeman. Oh, okay, I break those things. Juice me up. Bro's getting serious. Use your big head and spawn in more crystals. Come on. Last crystal, baby. Got his ass. You're naked now, boy. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Oh shit. Oh shit. He must have gotten frustrated because he started throwing everything. Lasers, fire arcs, everything you could think of. All at once. Here's a shield? How does bro have a shield? Get behind it, that's right. Laser his ass. There's no escape this time. What the hell? What the hell? Oh, we gotta shoot that thing on his head. Come on. Oh, shit. Get it. There we go. Got it a little bit. Come on, come on, come on, baby. Where's my guns? Where's my guns? Where's my guns? What the hell? What the fuck? His head popped open and revealed a weak point that, once destroyed, he started spinning around and screaming, almost like this dude was in pain. Like, get a grip, bro. I got thrusted towards the ceiling where I got teleported out of there. While standing on some rubble outside, looking at the Nihilanth's domain, a giant explosion went off. But before it reached me, time froze, and the mysterious businessman from earlier appeared in front of me, finally known as the G-Man. Enough voiceover, here's my raw reaction.
Freeman in the flesh.
What the fuck?
Or rather, in the hazard suit. I took the liberty of relieving you of your weapons.
What?
Most of them were government property. As for the suit, I think you've earned it.
What?
The border world, Zen, is in our control. For the time being, thanks to you.
What?
A nasty piece of work you managed over there. I am impressed.
Why are you saying it like that?
That's why I'm here, Mr. Freeman. I have recommended your services to my employers. And they have authorized me to offer you a job. They agree with me that you have limitless potential.
What the fuck?
You proved yourself a decisive man. So
Clearly.
don't expect you'll have any trouble deciding what to do. If
What do you mean?
you're interested, just step into the portal. I will take that as a yes.
And if I don't?
No. I can offer you a battle anticlimax after what you've just survived.
No way, they really gonna make me decide.
To choose.
So let me get this straight, bro. I gotta do all this shit. I did all this shit just to work for you. I don't even get to go home, sit down, relax.
It looks like we won't be working together.
Cute.
Regrets, Mr. Freeman.
Cute. I ain't gonna be your I ain't nobody's. I'd rather die than work for a random ass businessman that did none of the work. Let's do this, boys. Who is that guy? I mean, I saw him through the entire campaign. Like, he was like walking around the facility and shit. He mentioned how now they have control of Zen, but like, how? I just blew everything up, so what is there to control? I have no idea. This is one of the best video games I've probably ever played. I mean, besides the fact that I got lost more times than I can count, it's a really good game. I love that you get to choose either to decline his offer or join him. It's like, I don't really know what I'd be joining, right? I feel like you could go either way. I really recommend Black Mesa. In the final moments of my journey, I decided to give this dude the finger. After doing some research, it's canonical that Gordon accepts his offer given at the ending, but for me personally, nah. How are you gonna come in at the very end and give me this ultimatum after I did all the work? I would rather die than join this goofy ass guy. I love this ending. Giving you an actual option to change the story is a really nice touch. Now let's look at the game as one big whole. Let's start with the bad. Although I believe there's a lot of filler and parts that could have been cut, the campaign is decently full of things to do. I got lost a lot, and signage would have really been helpful. Too many times was the game unclear about my exact objective and where I needed to go. A lot of things sort of just happened and were very convenient. No real rhyme or reason. That's pretty much it for the things I didn't like, but I can't fault the game too hard because, you know, of its age. And maybe it's because I played the Black Mesa version instead of the original, but that was my experience. For the parts that I like, way too long to include them all, but the ending was definitely one of them. The boss fight with the Nihilanth was really cool, and the environmental storytelling all throughout the campaign was really well utilized. The Zen level stood out to me by far the most due to the visuals, again because of Black Mesa. Please check them out if you get the chance. For however long this video is, I didn't serve the game complete justice. You need to play it for yourself, and I went really fast through the entire game as this was sort of a first impression. Because Half-Life has been so long and I haven't played it, that's really why I wanted to make this video. If you made it this far, you're a real one. I can't explain how much I appreciate you guys. If we hit 1,000 likes again, I'll post some bunny pictures, so make sure you subscribe and you'll see them on your homepage. Have a nice rest of your day. Peace out.